constantly in that doing mode, how do you have space to be creative, to think outside of the box?
Yeah.
You're not useful in what you're doing. And also from a listening perspective, when I slow down, I'm way more in tune to other people. How can you take on other people's energy if you haven't slowed down?
Yeah.
But after around 6 years, it just felt really soulless to me. I felt completely disconnected to a point where I was, really, really unhappy. Just, the cycle of felt like the rat race.
Yeah.
And overworking, and it took its toll. And that's where I got to a point of burnout. Early stages of business where I'm doing a lot and I'm pushing too much and I'm not looking after myself. The awareness is then that I can be more snappy with my children, not present, not giving them what they need, not listening to their cues, not understanding what they really need. So I'm reacting from a stressed position. Whereas when I'm, let's say, looking after myself and having a walk on the beach and having a break, I go and pick them up from school, what have you. Sitting down, it's feeling your body on a chair, connecting with your breath, silencing the world around you, and actually connecting with yourself for 5 to 10 minutes a day. If you did that and you're going to learn to silence that and actually hear, the more you're going to bring it back, because it's scary, right? Being an entrepreneur and putting yourself out there online. That's, we can even relate it to. And the negative thoughts that come up time and time again for entrepreneurs is the fear of being judged, I'm not worthy, and these negative thoughts that are always going round and round and round, comparison, what have you. And again, it's the awareness. It doesn't mean you have to drop into meditation when you feel that negative thought, but it's about noticing that negative thought and actually framing that up and naming that inner critic is another tool that I would use. It comes down to, are you going to be consumed by that?
Yeah.
Be you, show up, keep it real, and have people around you that are going to lift you up. Exactly, and that's what it comes down to with business. I have young children. As I said, I'm obsessed with being in nature. For me, I want a business where I can travel, I can support my children, I can be around, I can live, work flexibly. That's what success looks and feels like to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people need to get clear on.
Do you think that you could make one of the biggest companies in the world? But it's pretty important that you know these, so that when you come to it, you know what to do. But I'm all good to go into the icebreakers. You good?
I'm good.
Okay, perfect. Well, the first question that I've got for you, Mandy, is what is your favourite thing to do with your family?
Favourite thing to do with my family would be activities immersed in nature.
Okay.
We are nature fanatics, so that would entail being on the beach, surfing, bushwalking. My children are 8 and 3, so getting creative. We're blessed to be living right on Putty Beach on the Central Coast.
It's a good spot.
Which is full of sticks that have come in from the storms, and so all of the children are creating these beautiful handmade huts and things. So that's our typical ideal family activity, or rummaging around in ocean pools as well and seeing what marine life we've got. So it's about connecting in nature, definitely.
Okay. Have you got a favourite spot that you go to every time, other than Putty Beach, if that's the normal?
McMaster's Beach. It's usually a beach. Umina Beach. Yeah.
Pretty local.
Pretty local. I do love, again, a beach. And you can tell it's all about the beach. Lobster Beach, where it's a bit more of a challenge.
Lobster Beach, where's that?
That is over near Wagstaff.
Oh, okay.
So Hardy's Bay.
Yeah.
But it's a bit more of a challenging bushwalk.
Yeah.
So that that's with me carrying my 3-year-old daughter all the way back up. So it's quite challenging, but great. Yeah.
Okay. I've never heard of Lobster Beach.
Get yourself there.
Okay. I'm actually going to Anna Bay. Have you heard of Anna Bay?
Yes. Love Port Stephens. Love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to the sand dunes.
Great. Yeah, we did that recently.
That's always a bit of fun.
Yeah. Get yourself a surfboard there as well. It's really great surf.
Do you surf?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, I love it.
I tried surfing and tried. That's very, very much where it ended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just got to keep trying. Keep trying. It's one of the hardest things I've ever learned in my life.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, but it's a lot of fun?
Worth it. That first wave is incredible.
Yeah, okay. All right. Interesting.
No pressure.
I definitely do think that I could do it. I probably tried when I was like 8.
Yeah.
So I didn't have much tenacity in there.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, look, if I can learn at 40...
Yeah.
When I was breastfeeding my daughter, I joined a local mum surf group.
Really?
And I learnt with Australians. And I'm from England, as you can hear originally. Not used to rips, not used to currents, big waves.
Yeah.
But I kept persevering. If I can do that, I always think if I can conquer that and learn to surf, I can do anything. And you, as, you know, ex-pro footballer, I'm sure you'll get it.
Yeah, I think I can.
You got to keep at it.
I think I can definitely do it. I think the only issue will be time.
That's your challenge. I'm going to be checking in.
Do they have waves in Vegas?
I'm sure they've got wave pools.
Wave pools. They'll probably have an inside one.
Yeah.
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
Quite possibly. Okay. Well, you love to be outside in nature with your family.
100%.
Awesome. Now, have you got a tip for productivity?
Productivity. I would say I have 2 of my favourite tips for productivity would be something that resonated with me when I first learnt to meditate 10 years ago. Was one of my meditation teachers. It had a profound impact on my life, which was we need to slow down to speed up. And I find when I have busy work days, I drop into meditation. You know, I'm not that classic, everyone thinks, you know, you've got to be in lotus position, sitting on a rock to meditate. You can meditate anywhere. You can slow down and drop in and allow your brain to really stop and slow down. So you don't have all of those tabs open. You actually come into that slow pace. And if you can do that regularly throughout the day and just have those small breaks, that enables you to speed up.
Okay.
100%. That's my first one. Slow down to speed up.
Yeah.
The other one I would say is around energy management and actually understanding when your energy is the most valuable and where it actually is the best positioned in your day. So I'll give you an example. For me, is the mornings is when I'm way more creative, productive, engaging. That's when I have a lot of my mentoring calls. I'm very creative. I can think big picture. I can creatively come up with concepts. By the afternoon, I start to ebb my energy and I start to slow down. And I've noticed that. So again, it comes back to awareness of your energy flow. And so in the afternoon, that's when I schedule in more admin orientated roles that I need to do in my business. And then I start to get ready to get into my next job, which is wearing my mum hat.
Yeah.
So productivity, it's those 2 for me, energy management and slow down to speed up.
Interesting analogy that came to mind when you spoke about the slow down to speed up, which was going around a corner. If you're an F1 driver, I know nothing about F1, but that Netflix documentary changed my family's perception and now they love it. I don't. But when they're going around a corner, you have to slow down to speed up. In this analogy, we don't know where our corners are, but we try and keep that same momentum. Here, you're saying, to actually get ahead of other people, maybe it's better to slow down when that corner comes, and you don't know when that corner is, but to speed up, you have to slow down sometimes. Is that kind of the same thing?
100%. Because also I feel if you're constantly in that doing mode, how do you have space to be creative, to think outside of the box? You're not useful in what you're doing. And also from a listening perspective, when I slow down, I'm way more in tuned to other people and intuitively listening to what's actually going on with them. So particularly in my role, when I'm listening to people and guiding them, or managers or leaders, how can you take on other people's energy if you haven't slowed down? Yeah, and actually filled your own cup.
Would you say that's a creative thing?
I think it's a creative thing, but I also think it's a productive thing, because I think people are missing things in what they're doing in their work if they're burning out and not slowing down. I feel that they're cutting corners and they're not immersed in what they're doing with their work.
Yeah. Okay. Because like when I think about it with video editing, I'll go to the bathroom for a bathroom break, and then 5 minutes later, the best idea will come. And that's the slow down kind of thing. If I'm thinking about like a software developer now, where it's like, I know nothing about software development. I won't say I know nothing. I've done a little bit in terms of understanding how my teams work. But for them, to me, it feels like they're just, going 50 kilometers per hour for the whole day. They're on cruise control.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are a few, fluctuations in there. Maybe there's a school zone in there somewhere. But in that case, I'm sure there probably are different moments where they do have to slow down to speed up.
Yeah.
But I do think it's quite specifically for creatives. I think it's more exacerbated for where that slow down really can help you speed up.
Yeah, but I'll just give you an example. I used to own a corporate wellbeing business for 8 years, placing facilitators all over Australasia.
Yep.
And we work with lots of companies, such as online traders, similar to what you're saying.
Yeah.
And we introduced mindfulness practices with those and a meditation, and it actually really shifted things for their mental health. So they might be go, relying on caffeine, not stopping, like you say, just constantly immersed. But a lot of these guys were burning out. So they didn't have that slowing down to support their mental health. So you may think it's productive in the long run, but it's not, because they were losing staff.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I would kind of equate that to, it's like they've got nothing but the work that they're doing, and it's like they have no choice but to work. And as humans, we aren't just made to work.
Yep.
And for me, when it comes to burnout, my whole perception of burnout is very much that it's so avoidable that if you just do a few certain things to stop yourself from getting there, it's an emotion and a feeling that in that case, that's like being enforced. And that's the quickest way to actually feel those emotions, is by other people enforcing specific things on you, where if it's productivity, if it's restrictions, if it's boundaries.
Yeah.
That's where that emotion of feeling burnt out can really, really hinder people.
Yeah.
And quite often in those specific cases, it's debilitating, because it's okay, I wouldn't mind to slow down a little bit here.
Yeah, well, I think it's just, I think it should be encouraged, exactly what you were saying. Just touching on that is another, great saying that I really believe in, is that we are human beings, not just human doings.
Yeah.
We have to find the being, which is encouraging people to slow down.
How do you think that works in a corporate environment? Because it's frowned upon, even a lunch break is, if I was a boss and I'm seeing the people who I'm paying to work, I mean, there's a reason why lunch breaks aren't paid usually. It's because it's unproductive. Although arguably, I mean, I don't know if you know much about how when caffeine was introduced, it was a productivity boom. And that's why they call it a coffee break, because it actually made people more productive. So in that case, that's the slow down to speed up, although they probably didn't slow down to have coffee really. But in that case, it's an example of how a break can help you be more efficient. But how is that accepted in a corporate environment, in your mind?
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of corporates that are open-minded to it now, especially because of the rate of burnout that's currently happening, and mental health is, there's lots of issues. It's really becoming an issue for a lot of people, and lots of corporate leaders are looking for wellbeing practices to encourage. They've got, rooms that are available now where people can go and switch off. They're encouraging more regular breaks. And they're the leaders that are really building a connected workplace as well, because they're looking after their people, and their people are feeling more engaged and they're feeling well.
Yeah.
So I think it's changing. Wellbeing used to be sort of seen as a fluffy type delivery within corporate, but it's from what I'm hearing now, I'm not in the corporate wellbeing space anymore, but I mentor a lot of coaches and practitioners who are in the corporate wellbeing space, and it's growing because they need to retain staff, look after staff, keep people well. People are realizing now that we can't keep pushing people to the max. A, because they're not engaged, they don't have an engaged workforce, but also because they're losing staff. And it's just an ongoing spiral. So in answer to your question, yes, it's definitely improving, I think.
Yeah. Okay. It's a difficult one to manage, I think, because it's it doesn't look too nice to take breaks constantly. It doesn't look like it's productive. But in this case, I do believe in efficiency, and this is something that makes you more efficient. And thinking that from the perspective of a business owner, if it's in the best, incentive of your employees to be more productive, then you probably want to do everything you can to make them more productive.
Yeah.
And it may seem counterintuitive, but if it does get the results, then there probably isn't too much risk even just trying it.
Yeah, I mean, there's stacks of research around breaks
Mm-hmm.
and about meditation and mindfulness and what it does for productivity. So if anyone is interested in it, there's so much science and research that backs it.
Yeah.
So that to support their stuff, but also to support yourself. I know because I practice it myself.
Yeah.
So I understand the awareness of how way more productive I am
Mm-hmm.
in my life as a mum, as a business owner, as a mentor. I understand just the power of breaks
Yeah.
and slowing down. So that's why I can stand behind what I believe in.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Also, notice how we've gone completely off topic.
I know. I know. I was like, we're going into a full well-being discussion
This
here.
is an icebreaker question.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean by it can go anywhere, right?
Yeah, I love it.
So back to the icebreakers. What time do you like to go to bed? It feels a little bit off topic now, but
I like to go to bed at around 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock?
Yep.
Okay, that's a good time.
It's because I'm up very early as well.
Yeah.
I have young children and I like to, be up early.
Sensible time. All right, that works.
I'm a sensible mum these days.
I'd like to think so. Going into the next question, who is or was the most influential person in your life?
That would definitely be my dad, for sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. We can probably talk about that a little bit later, but looking into part one, I would want to go back a little bit into what the first years looked like for you professionally. Now, for context, Mandy, we met 2 weeks ago, and we met through a mutual connection, Patrick Gregson, who's also been on this podcast. And we first met and kind of just caught up on like our lives. And then we were like, okay, what can we talk about now? And it's like, oh, okay, and we're here.
You launched straight into your story, which I loved.
Yeah. And we just got straight into everything, I think, as well, which is good.
Yeah.
And this is just an extension of it, really.
Yeah, no messing about.
Yeah. That's what we're here for. So I know a little bit about this, but I'd love to talk about what those first few years looked like for you professionally. In the UK, Australia, UK again, kind of that back and forth.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It has been an adventure. It really has. Really challenging, but amazing. I'm really, really grateful for the adventure I've been on. So, just to frame it up, because as you know, entrepreneurship is a big part of my life. And I grew up into a household of entrepreneurs in the UK. So I was really inspired by, the freedom they had, the flexibility, but I also saw the stress, they went through to get that. My mum, dad, 3 older brothers all had their own business. And that really inspired me from a young age. But I followed the expectation of school, university, went on to study international marketing in London and, then did that classic backpacking around Thailand and Australia. And then I fell into a corporate role in Sydney and fell in love with the sunshine and the beaches and started working for big businesses, running their marketing teams as a brand manager and as a marketing manager, and loved it. Loved the insights, loved the challenges. But after around 6 years, it just felt really soulless to me. I felt completely disconnected to a point where I was, really, really unhappy. Just, the cycle of felt like the rat race.
Yeah.
And overworking, over gymming, just push. And it took its toll. And that's where I got to a point of burnout, which is exactly what we were talking about before, and needed to change, really needed a change, and went back to the UK. I'd got my Australian residency, worked really hard, and then worked my way into becoming an Australian resident through the corporate career. Went back to the UK with my tail between my legs, lost, didn't know where I was going to go. And just got around my family again as entrepreneurs and felt that inspiration, which I needed, my soul needed. I needed to create. I needed to feel innovative again. I just lost that. And yeah, my dad really reignited that in me, and I started to turn to Pilates. I had a bad back from corporate, long demanding office hours, and meditation really changed my life, my mental health. So I studied to become a Pilates teacher.
Yep.
I was doing that on the weekends in London, whilst I was also holding down a sales manager role in the UK in the week. And I was just working really hard, learning, growing. And
How old were you at this point, sorry?
I was 29,
Okay.
29,
Okay. Yeah.
and became a Pilates teacher. Loved it. Complete change of career. Challenging to become a teacher,
Yeah.
and definitely had, that imposter syndrome of who am I to be in this sparkly
Yeah.
wellness world. And I've come from this corporate career, and yeah, set up my own Pilates practice in the UK. And then from there, I had that for about 3 or 4 years in the UK, and then decided to come back to Australia.
Yeah.
Missed the sunshine.
Okay. How could you not?
Really craved it. I was always outside in the UK. People, why are you outside? And I just miss the air.
Yeah.
I miss the fresh air. I love being in the UK. I love being with my friends and family. It's fantastic. Love the buzz, love the culture. But as I was saying before, I love being out in nature.
Yeah.
And I said to my husband, who I met, who was from the same town, which was crazy in the UK, was, I have an Australian passport. Do you want to come with me? And he was, yeah, let's do it. So we got married in the UK. I sold my business in England and came back and set up my Pilates business in Sydney. And then decided to grow and expand that. And that's when I set up my corporate wellbeing business, because it was my two worlds coming together. It was what I'd been through in corporate. I knew and understood marketing at a great level, and expanded and then placed facilitators all over Australasia. But that, that did come with its challenges. It sounds like it all happened really easily.
Yeah.
But I had some real challenges with my mindset as well. That, that whole imposter and the fear of being judged, and who am I to be doing this, and scaling my business and showing up online and presenting this. And I knew I had to share online, and I knew I had to create partnerships which would help me scale and grow my business, which I understood through marketing strategy.
Yeah.
But it was tough to find that strength and believe in myself. And that's where, again, what helped me was I worked with some great coaches myself, which is why I, fell into being a mentor, because I knew how important it was. But I also had the strength and the courage of my dad, who, as I said, was my biggest inspiration. So corporate wellbeing, ran that for 8 years, went into my next big role, which was being a mum.
Yeah.
Took some time out.
Yeah.
And then just started consulting to lots of different businesses who knew what I was about with well-being and business and marketing and growth. And then just fell into being a mentor and set up my own personal brand, which I've been doing for the last 4 years.
So it's been a lot of readjusting. And I know what it's like to move countries,
Yep.
because we do it a little bit too often over here. But it does, I find it very interesting that you've gone to Australia, back to the UK, back to Australia. Because, I can tell you in this street, I think there's 3 people from the UK who just plan to, come for a month, stayed for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And most of them don't even think about going back to the UK. Why did you take that decision to move back to the UK originally?
Originally, because I was burnt out and lost.
But why would you move back to the UK?
Now,
Yeah, then, what gave you the thought to move back to the UK? Because Australia is a great place to be,
yes, but I was missing the people,
Okay.
the deep connection and inspiration, which was my dad and my
So it was
family.
mainly your family.
Yeah, it was family.
Okay.
Yeah, which is the challenge, right? When you emigrate,
Yeah.
your family, you leave your family, and it's a big part of my life. I'm really close to my family.
And
So
how
to leave them was big.
long had you stayed in Australia for and not seen your family?
For a good 10 years.
Oh, seriously? So you hadn't gone back?
I'd popped. It's not really
Yeah.
It's not really popping
Yeah,
back,
yeah.
is it?
Traveling for a day, a bit, yeah.
I had been back.
Okay.
Yeah, I had been back twice.
That's really not that much.
Yes, yeah. So
Okay.
And it was a challenge for me to say, well, yeah, is this for life? You know, I want to go back and see if I want to be in England.
Yeah.
And yeah, lots changed for me. And then after 4 years, I meet my husband who loves the outdoors as well. It was, let's make this change, and we haven't looked back.
Yeah. So family, back, like this is 2010-ish.
Yes.
Technology, was it around? I'm saying this because I was a Clash of Clans user. That's all I used. What was it like? Like, would you be able to call someone? Would you be able to FaceTime someone? Were you in touch with your family very often?
Yes, phone calls.
Okay.
Phone calls.
All right.
Yeah.
Because for me, like, I didn't even feel the need necessarily to go back to Australia every so often, because like I was able to speak with my mum every day,
Yeah.
FaceTime her, catch up with my sister, do everything virtually.
Yeah, but it still doesn't, that in-person connection, it is still energetically so important to be with them, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also saw them every 6 months, which worked nicely.
Yeah.
Because it was a nice excuse for them to come to Germany.
Yeah.
But yeah, doing 5 years or in between, that's quite a lot of time.
Yeah. Yeah, it really was. So you can imagine at that point when, as I was saying to you, in the corporate world, when I just reached a point of soulless, lost, confused, burnt out, I needed that connection from them, which really saved me actually, and helped me get back onto that. Well, helped me reignite my entrepreneurial path. So really grateful for that time.
And you've been Australia, UK. How long was the UK stint for the second time, I guess you could say?
4 years.
And you met your husband in that 4 years?
Yes.
Okay. How did you meet your husband? Where did you meet your husband? Did it happen out of nowhere? What was that like?
I met my husband on a train.
Just a train?
Not randomly. Hi, how are you?
Yeah, that's what it could have been like.
Great, what's your name? No. He was with one of my best friends, my friend Mark. He brought him along to one of my other best friends' parties on the Thames, a boat on the Thames.
Okay, yeah.
So we met, and we actually had, I'm really grateful for that full instant spark. So we just hit it off straight away, and it just randomly turns out after, the sliding doors, what we talk about, we're from the same area. Growing up, we would have been crossing paths for sure. Yeah. So it's interesting. And he'd been to Australia 2 years before traveling and fell in love with it. So then when he met me, he was like, hey, I'm going back to Australia. Yeah. Would you like, and he's a tradesman and he loves surfing. So it was, the sales pitch was easy. Yeah,
good point. So from the moment that you met your husband to moving to Australia, how long was that time period?
That was...
Because you obviously didn't get married to the end of there, right?
Yeah, it was about 3 years.
Okay.
Since, and then we, got a house over in England. We got married. We had an amazing wedding where I grew up in a village, created our own wedding out in a field, in the countryside, and then had a big celebration. And then I actually left after our honeymoon on my own. Said goodbye, I'll see you in Australia in 3 months. And he worked really hard in the UK, saving money. Wow. And I went off to set up my Pilates business on my own, looking where to set up in Sydney, finding all my contacts, networking on my own, and then kind of found where we should live to start to build our family. So I went ahead of him.
And where was that?
Manly.
And where more specifically?
Fairlight Beach was where we were living, which is a great place, gorgeous. Loved it there. So it was there. That's what happened.
Perfect area.
Yeah.
Because you chose well. I think if you were to choose a spot, you need to
and I didn't actually choose. Again, I just put it out there to my networks. And then a friend who was there was, hey, and I, trusting in the flow of life and went. Yeah. And built from there. And then knocked on doors, had meetings and grew. Yeah.
How'd you like it there?
Loved it.
It's, I think, like one of the nicest places to live the Australian lifestyle. Like that's the Australian lifestyle to me. Like when I go into work and I just see everyone there at 5 a.m. doing their gym, going for a run, it's like, this is like, if you were to sell Australia, you'd be selling this.
Yeah, yeah. Do you know one thing I would say to you though, is where you're speaking from, I think 100%. And for us, once you start to have children, it's a bit different because you want the lifestyle for us personally.
Yeah.
Where the mic just went there.
Yeah.
Where you can, let's say, park up at beaches, other beaches, and cruise around. We just found it started to get quite busy. There's a lot of traffic.
Yeah, okay.
So for us, we like a slower paced life where we can cruise around and there's not so much traffic and not so busy with children. So Central Coast, where you just cruise around, was wonderful for us.
Cruise around all the potholes, but... Yeah. Did you see driving up here?
Yeah, there's potholes. Yeah.
There are potholes. Yeah. It's horrible.
But I'll take the potholes over the traffic.
Yes, agreed.
Unless they're not parking issues. I take that.
When I was in Bondi, there's a funny moment where I look at the time and I'm like, oh, we're 30 minutes over the parking limit. And I'm thinking, I don't even know what a parking thing is. Like, I've never bought a ticket before because in Central Coast we don't have that. I go back to the car. And I see this guy in a green, like, whatever you call. What are the...
Like parking.
Yeah, one of them things. And I was going to say a German word. It was dumb. This happens.
Sure, it was an unpleasant German word.
No, it was the right word. But I see it, and I'm like, oh, he's right next to my car. I start running. And I was so stressed out because I'm like, what do I do? I've never had this before. And... thankfully, he was just like the school crossing guy. And this was like all on film. It was the funniest thing. And I was so confused because I just never knew like parking and things like that. It's such a Sydney thing. Yeah. It's only an hour away, but it's such a Sydney thing.
But that's what I mean. It starts to add up.
Yeah.
And particularly when you've got young children. So on top of that, you've got prams.
Yeah.
And it's extra and they're crying and you've got nap times in traffic. It just adds.
Yeah.
For us, anyway. This was way more laid back and in tuned. Yeah.
And it is a common move that a lot of people make.
Yes.
And our mutual connection even made that same move.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that like is crazy. And you can probably talk about that a little bit more. Did you know Patrick in Manly?
No.
Was that just a coincidence?
He started talking to my husband on the street.
Okay.
And they are both passionate well-being enthusiasts.
Yeah.
And both love saunas and ice baths.
Yeah, okay.
And connected, and now they're great friends.
Okay.
Just like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a really like random one because the stories are like similar.
Yeah.
Like both UK.
Yeah.
Coming to Australia.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, Manly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then Central Coast.
Yeah.
Then the same street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he definitely came from the corporate background, so he was brought into a corporate environment, whereas we came out to set up our own businesses.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that is very, very helpful for the context. So, going into the current state, what you're working on. Obviously, you mentioned you're a mother.
Yes.
I don't know and will never know what it's like to be a mother. So I will not ask or question anything there because I'm the least qualified person. But all I can imagine is that's very difficult. Mm-hmm. I can imagine it's full-time and it's overtime and you're not getting paid a cent to do it. There's no other incentive than making a good life for your children. Mm-hmm. How do you manage that when starting a business? How do you manage that when even in a business? Because I don't imagine that you get much of a maternity leave when you're, your own boss. Mm. It relies on you being within the business.
Yeah.
What's that like?
It's challenging, but it's also amazing. Mm-hmm. Because you are your own boss.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. Recently, I don't have to ask someone if I want to go and be at my son's athletics carnival.
Yeah.
All day on Monday. I can just take the day off.
Yeah.
I can regularly in the afternoon with my husband. We own our own businesses. We can, clock off for the day and take our children to the beach every afternoon.
Yeah.
Because we create our own schedule. So there's two sides to it. Mm. Yes, there's a lot to manage because, as we all know, in small business, we're wearing many, many hats.
Yeah.
But over the years, what I've learned is the energy management and understanding when I work best.
Yeah. Being
strict on my boundaries. So when it's family time, I'm not working, and I'm very strict on that. And looking after myself. was the number one thing.
Yeah.
If I'm not looking after myself, then I'm not able to nurture my family. So my well-being practices are non-negotiables.
Yeah.
They are scheduled in every single day. Same as my husband. We need to be well in order to support our children, who are high energy children and love to be, playing and doing things, and hence why we're out in nature a lot. So, yeah.
A typical theme of this podcast is selfishness. And the parallel that I'm drawing here is that a lot of people would call you selfish for taking care of yourself first. I wouldn't say that's selfish. I use the oxygen in the plane analogy a lot, where, they say, put your mask on before anyone else so that you can then help others. Do you see that same thing with that prioritization of yourself? Is that something that you learned the hard way?
That's a really good question. I think it comes down to awareness again.
Yeah.
And I have been in states before where, let's say, early stages of business, where I'm doing a lot and I'm pushing too much and I'm not looking after myself. The awareness is then that I can be more snappy with my children.
Yeah.
Not present, not giving them what they need, not listening to their cues, not understanding what they really need. So I'm reacting from a stressed position. Whereas when I'm, let's say, looking after myself and having a walk on the beach and having a break before I go and pick them up from school, what have you, when I schedule that time in, I'm different. And I'm way more relaxed, which I think is imperative for looking after your children, because you're giving them what they need rather than reacting from a stress place.
Yeah.
That's my own perception. That's what I feel. And this isn't me going on retreats every day. And I'm talking small chunks of time.
Yeah.
Even if I go for a 10-minute walk, it's those chunks which actually really help.
Slowing down to speed up to the things that matter for you.
100%.
That's what I think that is, because we could, compare this to someone maybe my age, where let's compare that to me. If I was to do the exact same thing, maybe I'd be more productive. Maybe I would be, working a little bit smarter. But because my prioritization isn't where yours is, yours is on the businesses, but also on the family.
Yeah.
Mine might not be there for the family as much, because guess what? I don't have kids that I need to provide for.
Yes.
Therefore, it's very easy for people to criticize the things that everyone does, but no one really puts it into perspective of how that works for each individual.
Yes.
And one thing that I think is pretty prevalent in Australia and in the UK, I even spoke to this with Patty about this, was how we live in very judgmental societies where it's you'll be judged for doing specific things.
Yeah.
And that's where I will try my best never to judge anyone for doing anything, because it's I don't really understand what it's like to be in your shoes.
Yeah.
So how can I judge someone for doing it? And for this example, we've gone through everything, and to me it makes complete sense why you slow down to speed up with specific things, because that's where your values are aligned. You want to be the best mother you can.
Yeah.
So why would you go at 100 kilometers per hour all the time?
Yeah.
When it doesn't even get you to the end goal?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And I actually think, where you're saying you don't have a family, so it's not relatable, what I would say to you is, though, you do have relationships.
Yeah.
So whether you have a partner, clients, your family, what you will find is scheduling in time to slow down, to speed up, is not, as we said, just a productivity tool. It's about you being in the moment and being very present with those people that you're having a relationship with.
Yes.
So that is way more powerful. For me, I'm mentoring all the time, and I want to give my clients my ultimate attention.
Yeah.
Right? Attention is the ultimate currency. If someone is truly listening to you and is present and hearing what you're saying, that is when a relationship is firing.
Yes.
So it's relatable because, yes, I'm a mother, but I am touching on a lot of people as well. So for me to be present with my friends, with my family, with my clients, for me to be looking after myself means I'm going to be giving those people my attention.
Yeah, it's a good point, because I think that, again, it's underappreciated that to speed up, you might have to slow down. And
That's the theme.
yeah, it very much is.
Yeah.
And it's easy to say that you shouldn't because it's difficult to understand why you should. And it's also not black and white because sometimes you might need to speed up.
Yeah. But that's why it comes down to the awareness.
Yeah, exactly.
We can tell people, I can sit here and share this, but you have to try it yourself and notice how different you are when you're around people and how you react in life. Because I can assure you, if you're pushing and you're not having breaks, you will notice your stress levels and you will notice how you react to things.
What would you say a break is then for you? Because I think that a lot of people who are listening may think that a break is doing something completely different to what you might think it is. What's a break for you?
A break for me is going for a walk, getting fresh air, is switching off tech. It could be having a cup of tea. But let's say you're having a cup of tea. It's making sure that you are not having a cup of tea whilst you scroll through your phone. It's about feeling the heat of the cup on your hands, watching the steam rise, and actually noticing the heat of the tea as it goes down. So it's the mindfulness. It's about your brain not having so many tabs on.
Yeah.
A break is being in the moment.
I've got a good game that I just thought of. So, Mandy, welcome to the Is This Break a Break or Not game.
I love it.
I'm going to read out a bunch of different things.
Let's do it.
And you tell me if it's a break according to you. Okay? Because this is interesting, because I don't like giving advice, and this podcast isn't ever advice. This is just understanding how different people think. Okay? So I want to hear, from your perspective, what is a break? Because I'll ask another 19-year-old, and they'll say a break is something else. But I would argue that it's probably not much of a break.
Yes.
I would say it's quite degrading. I'm probably going to lean onto your side here with what a break is, but that's why we're playing this game. Okay?
Let's do it.
All right. Scrolling TikTok, break or no break?
No break.
Big one, guys. Remember that.
Sorry.
Okay. Watching TV, no break or break?
No break.
Going for a walk, no break or break?
Break.
Going for a sleep, no break or break?
Break.
What about playing with your dog, no break or break?
Break.
Drinking a cup of coffee whilst watching TikTok, no break or break?
No break.
Going to bed early and then waking up at, let's say if you go to bed at 6 p.m. because you're tired, and then wake up at 8 p.m. and realize I need to get work done, and then you spend the next 4 hours doing work, was that nap, so-called nap, a break or no break?
Break.
Okay. Going to a party, no break or break?
It's a break.
You think that's a break? Okay.
I think that's a break. Yeah.
What would the break? Because in this case, we're always equating a break to enhancing efficiency or enhancing efficiency of being a person.
Yes. So in my opinion, my humble opinion, going to a party, engaging in play and fun is giving yourself a break as well.
Okay. Is there more efficient ways of giving yourself a break?
Yes, of course.
Building Lego sets, no break or break?
Break.
Yeah, I think that's a break. I'd love to do that.
I can see you be like, everyone's in.
Please say it's a break.
For sure. Yeah.
Then
It really, I think it's really about the stimulus and tech as well, and it can just be so, overstimulating in your brain.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up the no break or break game. That's the first time we've ever done anything like that. I was like, no,
I love it.
it's time for game time. Okay. It's interesting. And again, we went really off topic there. But to bring it back onto what you're working on right now, maybe we can go into what the current projects are, where your focus is at the moment, the people that you work with, why you're working with those people, why they're working with you, and where, who, everything. What's it currently like for you?
It's great. It's very exciting. There's lots of amazing projects I'm working on. So the way that I work as a mentor, I work one-on-one with business owners, whether they're in the startup or the scale-up stage. and they're looking for guidance. So they're looking for direction, they're looking for purpose, they're looking for growth strategies, tactics, help with their mindset, someone who's going to help push them towards success, or what that looks and feels like to them. So I help draw that out of them and then create this vision, and we work on the vision together, and I create action steps and we move together. So I join their business and help them grow and reach that. So that's the one-to-one, which is very personalized, that I work with, few clients. And I also have a community of small businesses that I work with on the Central Coast, which is wonderful. I have around 15 to 20 small businesses, real diverse mix. They're all working together. They're all growing together. I support them at the strategic level and actually looking at marketing strategy and how they can grow. And then they work together as well from a cross-referral perspective, but also from a support perspective.
Yeah.
So it's that, not just the importance of the business growth together, but it's the sense of belonging, which is really important.
Yeah.
And I love that in terms of the community element. And where I'm looking to grow is I'm looking to scale my reach community. So I might be taking that into other areas, which will be wonderful. And I'm looking to launch a podcast soon and write a book and run some retreats. So there's lots and lots happening.
What's the ideal person that you're mentoring?
The ideal person, there isn't a specific type of person. Like, I'm very open-minded. When people come to me, I always think, you found me for a reason. Mm-hmm. Like, we're very aligned.
Yeah.
And they can be very different. But generally, I have a lot of coaches, consultants, soulpreneurs on their own, growing and building their business. But I also am working with, medium-sized businesses that are looking to scale.
Yeah.
And I've recently launched my own marketing agency as well, the Reach Collective. So there's businesses that are looking to scale. And that's where I'm working with some really great offshore creatives who are, running ads, graphic designers, copywriters, videographers, photographers. So we've got all of that in-house, and I help from a strategy perspective, and then we get to implement all of the marketing tactics from there.
Going to and we can talk about that a little bit later, but I want to go into what is the desired outcome for every single person that you work with. Going into it, blank canvas. Mm-hmm. But what do you want them to be after working with yourself?
I want them to feel good, feel being the operative word, which isn't usually used in the business world, mm-hmm. about their life, their direction, and their business that they've created with me. So a lot of the time people come to me with ideas.
Yeah.
Now you would know yourself as an entrepreneur, I've got all these ideas. Can you help me?
Yeah.
And some coaches would be, you've got to come to me when you're at a certain point, right? Not even from a startup perspective. But I actually love that creative process.
Okay.
So it's about then unpacking their story. What do they love? What do they not love in business? What's their strengths? Where can we work on that? What can we do? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do?
Yeah.
It's actually getting down to that and drilling down on that with them and finding that. And then by the end of it, people can be with me from, 3 months. I've still got a lady with me after 10 months.
Yeah.
And is really that point at the end, which is answering your question, is what am I wanting them to have, is that connection to their purpose, their why, a business that they love, and living a lifestyle that they love, which is really important.
Okay. You mentioned the feeling.
Yes.
That was interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because feeling is subjective.
Yeah.
I could feel as if I am a goat or a sheep. Am I a goat or a sheep? If I convince myself that I am, I've got more reason to think that I am than not. Thinking about that, how do you actually help the people that you work with feel true feelings?
Yeah.
Not that they're actually something that they're not.
Yeah. Well, again, it's a great question. It comes down to the awareness, again, which we've spoken about, And
I don't bar too often, and I don't look like a sheep.
No, you definitely don't. I feel that people are, it's about the connection within themselves, and people are losing that connection with what they actually feel. So people will talk about intuition, for example, and how do I actually tap into my intuition? So again, it's me supporting them with perhaps practices that are going to help them to tune in and sit and be quiet and listen to what feels good or what feels a bit off or what doesn't feel great. Usually if you can ask people, does that business idea feel good to you? And they're so up in their head because they've got all of these things going on. They actually need that process of slowing down to think about it. And then they might come up with a decision afterwards that actually I've sat with it and it doesn't feel good. Something feels off. So it's about listening to that.
Have you got an example of an exercise that you'd give to someone?
to create that feeling?
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it's just silence. Again, it's being able to, sit with that slow pace and allowing yourself to connect. So again, it's sitting down, it's feeling your body on a chair, connecting with your breath, silencing the world around you and actually connecting with yourself for 5 to 10 minutes a day. If you did that every day, you're going to notice when you first start that your brain's just constantly wandering. But the more you can notice that brain wandering, the more you're going to bring it back. And you're going to learn to silence that and actually hear. My most creative moments come in the early hours of the morning when I get up and meditate before my children wake up. The ideas that come to me are so powerful. That's what's changed my life in terms of my vision and creativity, because it's me coming through rather than, just overwhelm of ideas. So it's about creating silence. And you would know, as someone who's really into fitness, the more you train or the more you trained in soccer, the better you got. Now, it's exactly the same with training your brain to silence and listen. The more you notice your brain wandering, the more you're going to be starting to calm it down. And that's where you'll start to feel your intuition, and that's where you'll be able to answer questions more about how does it feel, because rather than just reacting all the time and saying, oh, this feels, sit with it and then come back with a decision. I had a lady the other day who was saying to me, she's in a small enterprise, but she's looking to scale her business, and she was presenting everything about the business to me, and I just turned to her and said, how does it feel to scale? She said, I don't know what to do. She had all of these ideas and strategies and processes that she was presenting. I said, well, how does it feel to scale? She was like, I've never been asked that question, and was daunted by it. And then I said, go away, have a think, come back to me, let me know how it feels. And it was so powerful and profound to her, because she said, actually, I went away, did what you said. And she goes, it doesn't feel good. There's your answer. Listen to your own intuition. I can guide you, but really you know the answer if you can slow down and listen.
So you speak about meditation there and how the awareness of where your thoughts are is important for reflection. I very much agree there. I wouldn't say that I'm like an avid meditator. I don't always meditate. All I do is before I go to bed, I just do 3 minutes of breathing, and that just helps me just switch off really easily.
Yep.
I used to be more purposeful with it when I was playing football because it was more impactful then. Being in the moment is more important. But one thing that I noticed was that meditation is an awareness piece, but it's not necessarily an answer to fixing those thoughts. Meditation gives you the awareness that your thoughts are not necessarily your word. It's just things that are just flowing around. But if I didn't have that awareness, because meditation doesn't just give you that, something else usually has to give you the awareness that your thoughts are just thoughts, nothing but that. So if I was someone who meditated a lot, but believed everything that came up in my mind, but every time that I thought of something negative, I thought about that negative thought, and I would just try and get away just through meditation, that I never think about it again. It's going to happen though. It's going to pop up again.
Yeah, of course.
Quite often it dictates people's lives. When you've got someone like that, which is, I'd say, a lot of people, what's the other exercise that you could give to someone when meditation just gives them an awareness, not necessarily a solution to the problem?
Yeah. Well, I think, this is really coming down to mindset as well. And it really relates to, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs with challenging mindsets, because it's scary, right? Being an entrepreneur and and putting yourself out there online. That's, we can even relate it to. And the negative thoughts that come up time and time again for entrepreneurs is the fear of being judged, is, I'm not worthy, and these negative thoughts that are always going round and round and round, comparison, what have you. And again, it's the awareness. It doesn't mean you have to drop into meditation when you feel that negative thought, but it's about noticing that negative thought and sort of almost seeing it, as I would say to people, as your inner critic coming in, and actually framing that up and naming that inner critic is another tool that I would use.
Yeah.
So like for me, my inner critic, I've named her Marjorie.
Yeah.
So if I'm about to stand up on stage and present or jump online and do a live, of course, I still have that. I'm not good enough. Who am I?
Yeah.
I'm going to be judged here for wearing a funny hat or whatever it is, right? So it's actually noticing that negative thought and saying, okay, Marge, you're here.
Yeah.
You're trying to keep me safe. But guess what? I'm fine. I'm going to go do this. So it's actually pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, noticing the negative thought, but actually stepping it aside, saying thank you, and then go do it. And the more you do that, the stronger you get and the more resilient you get, which you would know time and time again with pressure of soccer or what have you as well. Exactly the same. Is the negative thought is there. I hope that answers your question. Is it's not just about sitting in meditation. Yep. Meditation is going to give you the tool to be aware of this more.
Yeah.
Because that's going to come up time and time again, especially in entrepreneurship. As I say to people, it's not just about, we can present, business strategies, processes to help you grow. But at the end of the day, if you don't have someone helping you with mindset, when you notice those negative thoughts coming through, if you're not aware of them, work with someone who's going to notice that they're there. Because I have it time and time again with clients, and I will say to them, why are you thinking that? That's a limiting belief. Of course you can go and do that. So a lot of it is about whether you can understand the negative thought. And if you can't, and you can't witness them, work with a coach or a mentor who's going to help you get over them.
We're always looking for confirmation to our negative thoughts. Whether I stuff up one day and I have a thought the next thinking, there's been a pattern of stuffing up, we're always going to attribute. It's the reverse confirmation bias. It's like you don't want to admit it, but naturally we will. And that's the exact answer that I was looking for, by the way.
Good.
And there's many different ways of actually dealing with it. I've heard a lot of people use that approach where it's like they have a, what's the word? I have this moment a lot where I forget words. But basically, it's like you have an alter ego.
Yes, yeah.
I've heard that used.
Your inner critic, as I was saying. Inner critic, name your inner critic.
Yeah. And what I do, I don't do the naming thing. I actually just don't believe it. I just don't believe everything that my mind says to be real. And I think that when you can just distinguish that, like if I'm thinking right now, I'm going to move my right arm up to a 90-degree angle, it hasn't moved.
Yeah.
That's a thought in my head.
Yeah.
Therefore, my thoughts don't dictate my actions.
Yeah.
If you can truly understand that, and like I say that, and the people on the other side may not really relate to it because it actually takes a long time to get to that point because you actually have to figure out those confirmation biases, and you have to realize that, okay, this one time when I thought it, this didn't happen.
Yes. Yeah,
that takes a long time to actually get to that
It does, and it takes practice, but this is why we need to be taking action consistently.
Action.
Because the more we do it, the more we push ourselves, the classic quote, feel the fear and jump anyway. Like we have to be working towards it. It goes back to ancient history, doesn't it? That it's our bodies and our brains protecting us, in fight or flight, and and it's actually noticing that. And as I say, it really cripples a lot of people.
Yeah.
I know, even the online space, we know it's so important to get online for human beings to connect, like people buy into people, right? More powerful than ever, what we're doing right now, people listening to us. But the thought of people actually going and doing something like this or jumping online or sharing a video and being authentic, it really is debilitating for a lot of people. And it's that which is actually going to make a difference, is what we're talking about, is knowing when those negative thoughts come in, fear of being judged, am I good enough? Can I do this? Believing in yourself, that, inner critic is once you can do it more and more and more, guess what? It becomes effortless, right? Because you're just like, well, I've done that before.
Yeah.
Well, I've done this before. You can do it, or you need someone to push you. If you haven't got that inside you, that's when you need to work with people as well.
It's a good point. and it's exactly what you're witnessing right now with this podcast, is very much what it is for me. I started this when I was 17. I can tell you right now, there's people who are probably listening to this who aren't listening to it for the nicest reasons. And it happens a lot. People who I used to go to school with, I'm constantly being judged.
Yeah.
And I'm in the point where it's like, I'm in so deep that it's like, I don't even blame you. Like, I would probably do the exactly, you know what? I'm just going to go fully in now.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you say that, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'll just keep doing my thing. Because the difference between a lot of people and the top 1% is, okay, my actions are aligned with my words. If I want to get to somewhere and I'm saying I want to get there, I have to take the actions that are actually going to help me get there. So if I want to be someone who has a big company, who is influential, then sitting at my desk all day, being extremely introverted and just, you know, sticking to my own way of doing things probably isn't going to get me there.
Yeah.
Even if this isn't going to get me there, this is at least helping me know that there's a better way to do it.
Yeah.
And that's where, for example, like you saw the video in Bondi, that's me and my friend. This YouTube video is coming out on Sunday. We're just walking around Bondi for 45 minutes, completely uncensored. We have to beep out 50% of the things because it's like way too personal. But seriously, I watch back at it. I'm thinking, this is so personal.
Yeah.
This is so authentic.
Yeah.
And I just laugh thinking about it.
Yeah. But this is it, you know, and thank you for sharing that. And kudos to you, Nick. You know, you're doing an amazing work. And for anyone who is hating on you, you know, I mean, that's their loss in terms of having an inspirational person like you around. But what I would say is what you're touching on is that authenticity and you being with your friend in Bondi, and it's refreshing, you know, it's refreshing content. It's what people want. And people, I always say to people that I'm working with is when people come to me and start working with his mentor, and I ask them what was the reason that you actually invested in me, just out of interest? 9 times out of 10, it's not because of my 20 years business experience, growing my own businesses and mentoring hundreds of businesses. It's always my energy online.
Yeah.
It's always my expression, who I am, the way I show up authentically, because people are done with the BS. People want real. And so the fact that you're pushing yourself and growing, you know, and surrounding yourself by all these great people that are lifting you higher and creating that authentic content is where it's at.
I actually have to give a lot of credit to my friend from Germany who actually forced me to do it. He forced me to be uncomfortable. And I think in Germany it's a little bit different because they're almost like in America. Like this type of thing's like relatively encouraged. In Australia, it's not. Yeah. It's very much, and it's the same in the UK. Yeah. Tall poppy syndrome. I spoke about it with Patty, and in Australia, this type of thing is very much discouraged. Yeah. In Germany, a little bit discouraged, but more encouraged. In the US, very much encouraged. Yeah. And it's very interesting to see that. Yes. My friend in Germany, he forced me. And when I say forced, I say forced because he challenged me to do something, and I just told him I couldn't do it because I logistically couldn't. I was in the middle of moving from Budapest back to Australia, and I hate when he does this because he makes me then. He's like, "Are you?" There's a word for it. It's called being a cleaner. It's a reference from a basketball mentor, basically, from LeBron James. Sorry, not LeBron James. From Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. And he talks about the 3 types of people, and he's like, "Oh, you're not being a cleaner." And he knows that if he says that to me, he's going to make me do it. Yeah. and he knows that I'm going to do it 20 times more. And so he said it to me. He's like, "You need to post on TikTok." And I'm like, "I'm not posting on TikTok. I can't even do it. I'll miss a day because I'm in the air for 2. Yeah. And he's like, "Okay, well, you're not a cleaner." I'm like, oh, "You said it." Damn it, you had to say the word. And then Tiger comes out. Yeah. I did a podcast every single day for a month. I then started uploading on YouTube. I met him in person for the first time, which was like really weird. Meeting a friend in person for the first time as a 19-year-old doesn't really go into the same sentence too often. But weirdly enough, most of my friends I haven't met in person still. So, met him for the first time. We did a video in London, going around London. I watch it back and I love it. My favorite thing. And this is what I'm doing with all my friends now before I leave and before I, venture off into, bigger and better things. And I want to have those friends there with me as well. I want to document everything, and even if it doesn't become the most successful thing, I just want it there.
Yeah,
and that's what the Bondi thing was.
Yeah.
Because when I always give Jack, my friend, the biggest shout out, and I'm so glad I can do the podcast with him now as well. But seriously, like having these types of, I'm very selective with my friends. I'd say my circle, I wrote it down the other day, and I think it's maybe 6 in my closest 2 circles. But these types of people, I just want to invest everything into and grow with them.
Yeah.
And that's what these new videos are going to be. So make sure you watch that one on Bondi.
Yeah, I will.
If you bothered to watch 45 minutes. But
for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's very, very cool to, I think, see that. And if people do get value out of it, naturally it will work its way up.
Yeah. And I want to touch on something that you're talking about, which is surrounding yourself with people that are going to lift you up. 45 years of life and being an entrepreneur for a good 15 years now, I think it is imperative to be around the right people who are going to encourage you, inspire you, and support you. And exactly what you were talking about, there are people that will judge you. They're always going to judge you.
Yeah.
And you've just got to forget about that. Be you, show up, keep it real, and have people around you that are going to lift you up.
Yeah.
There's always those people that then come around when you're successful and then want to be your friends and then want to start supporting you.
Yeah.
But in the start, they're judging you, right?
Yeah.
And they're not going to give you the likes. They're not going to give you the comments. They're going to watch you. Let them watch.
Yeah.
Just stay in your lane. But like you said, surround yourself with people who are going to get behind you.
Yeah.
That's what's going to give you the growth. It's very hard to do it on your own.
It's interesting looking at people who talk poorly about you, and I don't actually like disagree with them a lot of the time either. I very much understand where they're coming from, and I don't actually think that they're really negatively judging. A lot of the time I think it's just for social validation. And when I think about that on like a human level, and I think about why are they looking for social validation through, let's say, hating on another person. I don't really like using the word hating because I don't really think it's hating. I think it's, quite often it's like for group morale, it's kind of funny to have an outlet because it kind of makes them look like the idiot. Like the person who they're hating, it kind of makes them look like the idiot, and everyone else who's laughing at them looks superior. So I very much understand why it's there. And I've been in friendship groups where, I mean, they were my old friends, right? So I understand the basics of why it happens. And I don't necessarily judge them for that because it's a human thing.
Yeah.
And
yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to, are you going to be consumed by what other people are thinking?
Yeah.
Or time is precious.
Yeah.
You want to just be taking action and moving forward.
Yeah.
You haven't got time to be consumed by that.
Yeah. And that's where being selective with the people who you choose to be around.
Yes.
And like, because I've moved and been all around the world and whatnot, like there was a period of time where one of my closest friends I didn't speak to for 3 years. And then as soon as I got back to Australia, we got back to normal and we were just best friends ever since. I meet up with him every Sunday. And that's the thing for me. Like, you know how you mentioned your non-negotiables? My non-negotiables for my friends, I meet up with them bare minimum once a week. And now we've got to 2 times a week because we just can't get enough of it.
Oh, that's so lovely. I love that.
Yeah. Very, very purposeful with things like that.
Yeah, it's great.
And
you can tell, you can tell because look at what's happening to you now. You're being flown around the world, do all these creative projects, you're growing, you're really impressive. And yes, that's down to you, but it's also reflective of who you're being surrounded by. I really do.
Yeah, very much agree.
Yeah,
very much
so
agree.
Well done.
Thank you. I do appreciate that. And even in that, a lot of it comes down to LinkedIn for me. And I was just thinking then, technically, we met through LinkedIn because I met Patty through LinkedIn.
Yes.
And that means that this is a LinkedIn connection as well.
Yeah.
You have a very good LinkedIn profile.
Thank you.
We can probably talk a little bit more about your personal branding, why you started it.
Yeah.
Where does this entrepreneurial spirit come from?
Yeah.
The history behind that. I'd love to go into that a little bit more.
Great. Okay. Well, it's a big question. I'm just going to let it flow and see what happens. So My personal brand has been going for 4 years now as Mandy Millen, stepping into my own personal brand as a mentor, which was, again, it was challenging. You know, you are you. That's it. You're the brand. But it's been amazing. You know, I've met incredible people. I've supported hundreds of small businesses to growth and helped them using, you know, all of my experiences, all of my mess ups, everything I've done along the way of growing my own businesses, building them, being around my family from a young age, working for big teams with marketing, in marketing strategy and brands, so getting all of those insights. So it's been incredible bringing that all together and just being me, you know, and just showing up and people, you know, knowing that they're just going to get everything that I've got in the moment. So it's been a wonderful journey. Going back to where I, you know, get this entrepreneurial spirit from, which I touched on before, was definitely from a young age, was from my dad. And he was the biggest inspiration in my life. You know, he started out in the slums of London, you know, a rough place back in the day. And he started out selling teddy bears in the market. And he was young. And he then went into working for car dealerships. And then he grew and set up tyre fitting businesses around London. He had 2 or 3 premises, grew from there. Then he decided to take me and my family to America at a young age and set up an English-China business.
Seriously?
Yep, we were all young and took us out there and did well over there, came back into his tyre business. And then he was an obsessive golfer. He loved golf.
Yeah.
And he then set up his own golf magazine. And
Wow.
he distributed that around the counties in the UK. So he was a driven entrepreneur. He started from nothing, and he moved and grooved and enjoyed his life and created what he wanted in his own destiny. And so he, from a young age, really drilled that into me and my older brothers, which is that you can create a life, you know, by design, or that you love. And that belief has stuck with me for a long time. I'm so grateful for that. And as I was growing my own businesses in the Pilates space and the well-being space, I was with him a lot in the UK. So I had him continually mentoring me. So whenever I had wobbles or whenever I had the fear of being judged when I first started, you know, showing up online, and I had to, you know, go and create partnerships, which I knew was important, and knock on doors of practitioners and build events and grow. I was, you know, still had that mindset, but he was always there. And he was always, go do it, go learn, fumble and grow. You know, that was his way. So I had him behind me. That's where the entrepreneurial spirit, I lost him 4 years ago, which was devastating, but I feel that his wisdom really lives on through me. And I'll often, you know, say to my clients, you know, I might pull in insights of what I've done through the years, but I'll actually say, this is actually from my dad. You know, this is what he used to say to me, and they love it, because I think that wisdom and that generational wisdom, particularly from someone who has done it all, you know, from grassroots, it sticks with you and it really inspires you to help other people and see the passion that they have and to help them on their way.
Would you like to think that you're making him proud?
Yes.
Yeah?
Definitely. Because he's all about making it happen. He's all about going for it.
Yeah?
Yeah. And I'm doing that. I'm definitely doing that.
That's good. That is good. I was hoping it was going to be a yes, because I was thinking, well, I think it's a yes. Okay. So a lot of it comes down to your dad.
Yeah, definitely the entrepreneurial spirit. And I have, as I said, I think working with people, coaches and mentors is so important, because yes, I had my dad always until he passed away, but I also worked myself, you know, as leading by example. I've had coaches along the way as well that have come into my time frame as I've grown and expanded and scaled, and used their insights to help propel me forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which has built my entrepreneurial spirit.
Would you say your dad was the catalyst?
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
Stormin Norman, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And looking at the current things that you're doing,
Yes.
where do you want to take them in the next few years? And also just taking into consideration where you are in your life.
Yes.
Taking into consideration the philosophy that you bring from your dad's philosophy as well.
Yes.
Where does that want to guide? Well, where do you want to let that guide you?
It's a great question. I like it.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's a It's a big one, and it's a vision one that I would actually ask a lot of my clients, and
Yeah.
where do you see yourself? And for me, it's to continually work as a guide. My purpose is to serve and guide people. That's where I feel in flow. That's where I feel alive. That is where I'm meant to be. So it would always be guiding people to growth and helping them reach their vision, and to remove that stress and overwhelm, and actually let them know that they can do it, and get behind them. So that will always be part of what I do as a mentor and a guide. And building more communities. Community is key. And the way that we're growing with tech, AI, I just feel deep down that also being a community leader and connecting people is something that I will keep growing into. And whether that means me scaling my community groups, I feel that is on the horizon, and I'm in some really great chats with wonderful partnerships that would enable me to do that. So that could be definitely something I would go into.
Yeah. The community one is, I think, going to be big in the coming years, because whenever there is a movement for one thing, there is a massive counter movement for the other.
Yeah.
And when people are becoming less communal, soon enough, there'll be a whole lot of people who are wanting more community because they lack it.
Yeah.
And that's just a common cycle.
Yeah.
It goes from one side to the other, and then it kind of finds its way in between.
Yeah.
And we've been in that in-between phase for a while.
Yeah.
And then there's another disruptor in the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pendulum's going to swing.
Yeah.
You'll be there nice and conveniently for when all the people are looking for community. Guess what? Mandy's got this really, cool community. How about we go join that one?
Yeah. But you say that's happening, but you're saying it's going to happen, but I can tell you right now it's happening.
Yeah.
And it's craved, because people are reaching out to me all of the time, wanting to be around people, craving in person, craving that connection, craving that innovation, motivation, inspiration. When we're energetically together, working together, I see it all the time. I just see that energy, and it's so invigorating. And, people coming up to me at the end of my group, my Reach community group events, 15 to 20 entrepreneurs working together monthly, they're hugging each other, laughing, they're happy, they're well-being, they've got ideas, they've got new client introductions. Like, who wouldn't want to be part of that? Then there's my bigger events, and the same again, people are walking away saying, I've never been to an event like that. I love that because it's real, it's vulnerable, people are opening up. Like, we're missing that connection. We are, as human beings, we're hardwired for connection.
Yeah.
Can't forget that.
Yeah. And if we do, we'll probably feel like something's missing.
But this is then what's leading to what we were talking about earlier, the negative thoughts, being judged. If you're not getting out and around people and getting inspired and motivated, that's going to happen more. So it's your responsibility to get around the right people, to get rid of the negativity and move forward. Yeah.
Kind of similar to where having good people around you really matters.
Yes. Yeah. Community. So good people in your life, in your close circles, and also in your business circle. Really important.
So how do you select the right people then? Because
for me, personally,
we can start off with the communities. We don't have to go into personal, but I was more thinking, unless you want to, but no. In terms of the entrepreneurs, let's say, are you selective? Are you approaching them? Are they coming to you? What's that process like?
They are coming to me.
Okay.
And it is usually they have found me and they know the type of person I am.
LinkedIn?
Linked all of my channels.
Okay.
As I said, people understand the energy that I put out there, the type of content, it's more vulnerable, it's more real. I'm sharing from an authentic space. Yeah. And people want that. So they're buying into it and they will come to me. It's not a structured corporate environment. There's no ickiness in networking. I'm facilitating a lot of that. As you know, my passion is in well-being. So I might lead my sessions with a small breath work. We have mindful networking where I actually have subjects for them to talk about. Like the last session we had was around mindset and what do you think is blocking you in your business to create an impact? And they all shared with each other. So it was a real authentic share and people were, really touched by the fact that they're not alone and everyone else is feeling the same, and how they've grappled with that challenge. So it's a unique type of community in a sense that it's heart-centered, as I would say. It's more keeping it real rather on the what's the commercial value, what's the business strategies, let's talk business, business, business. Of course, there's that element to it, but there's also this human aspect, which is what I'm really passionate about. So people are craving that for a reason, and they know that through my branding and my content creation, and they're coming to me for that.
So the objective of the group isn't business focused, although they have a common, let's say, interest, which is business. And together, it's the connection of being with other people, being with like-minded people. This is the end goal rather than the most successful business. Is that right?
No. Not entirely. It is business focused.
Okay.
It's business focused because you have me. It's called Reach because you get to reach out to a mentor, me, who is an experienced marketer, who's going to be looking at strategy and helping you grow your business.
Okay.
So essentially, you're coming into it to be a part of my world, so I can help you personally. But also you have access to other local small businesses who are all looking to grow. So the commercial value is, of course, there's the cross referrals, the partnerships, the collaborations. So there's the business commercial value, but it's very much about who we are and who we be as well as human beings.
Got you.
So I would say it's even into the offering.
Okay.
It's not just about, hey, let's connect and be heart-centered people, and then there might be a business opportunity.
Yeah.
It's actually about, this is a business group, but we really care about each other.
Got you. Okay. All right. That helps. That helps. That clears it up. Thank you. Okay. Well, that's very interesting. Have you got anything that you wanted to go over specifically regarding the influence that your dad had in your life? Where you want to take that a little bit more? Anything that you wanted to go over there?
Thank you for asking. I mean, no, I'm just really grateful that I had him in my life, and I'm really channeling his wisdom, particularly right now. I'm working with a great speechwriter as I'm leveling up my public speaking and running larger scale events. And it's interesting because she's taking me through my story and he keeps coming through.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's just, I'm really grateful to have had him in my life for so long and inspired me to do everything that I do. And I like to channel that to a lot of the clients that I work with and let them know that anything, as he would say, anything is possible.
So very much rooted deep in your philosophy and ideology is the teachings from your father.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a very, very good takeaway. It's good to see where I'm very interested in where people's ideology is formed, because I'd say my ideology is like very well thought. No, saying it's well thought out is ignorant, but I would say it's very thought out. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I do know where it comes from at least.
Yeah.
And so I like to hear where other people's ideology comes from.
Yeah.
Because I believe that it's the biggest reason for action.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's like a deep rooted belief.
Yeah.
I work with a lot of entrepreneurs that have got a lot of limiting beliefs. They have these great ideas, these great concepts, products, services they want to launch, or they have launched, they want to scale. And I'm all about taking strategic action and seeing those opportunities that I can see very clearly, which is experience and insights that I've learned from running big businesses, but doing it myself. But my deep belief is that I can do that and I can take action because my dad ingrained that in me.
Yeah.
Whereas I think with a lot of entrepreneurs that I work with, they have all of the skills and they know what they need to do, but actually deep rooted inside them is limiting beliefs, which might have happened when they were young. They might not have had that entrepreneurial spirit, from their parents. I'm working with a client at the moment, and it's really interesting because she's a leadership coach, and she so authentically showed up online the other day and shared, and it was a really powerful piece of content. And it was about how she's now gone back in time and realized that growing up, her dad said that anyone who had their own business was a bad person. Really? And it stayed with her as a limiting belief as she has stepped into being an entrepreneur. So it's, it's as much as you say ideology, of course, there's lots of areas of my life that have built and grown me to become a mentor. That's why I can say I'm a mentor, because I've been there, I've done it, I've, you know, done the work. But I think it's his deep-grained belief which has stayed with me, which I like to pass on.
Okay. You spoke about pretty consistently through here is that you believe that you can do anything. I very much agree with that stance and have the same belief. A weird question
Yeah.
is, do you think with that belief, do you think that you could make one of the biggest companies in the world?
Yes.
I knew
But not on my own.
Okay. But that's still you doing it, right?
Yeah.
So I was expecting that answer, because if you asked me that, I'd say yes as well. Why, or maybe are you planning on doing that? Or why haven't you, or are you planning on doing that? Or is it something that doesn't necessarily interest you?
Great question again.
Thank you. It was a random one.
It's a big one. It's and it's off the cuff, so it's like, so for me to digest that. And
Yeah.
look, it's not something I'm planning. It's not something I'm aiming towards. It's a very big goal to aim for one of the biggest companies in the world. Like, that's not what I'm aiming for.
Yeah.
For me, I'm aiming for fulfillment. I'm aiming for a great lifestyle and being able to support people and grow. I'm not looking for the biggest company in the world. That's not for me.
Yeah.
Do I think I could do it? Yes, if I had the right people around me, for sure. I have the drive, I have the ambition, I have the people skills to bring people together as a connector. So yes, I do think I could do it, but it's not on my radar.
Yeah.
It was another part of the question, I think.
No, that was where I was kind of, there was a variable. You could have answered it in a few ways.
Okay.
And that's what I was expecting,
Yeah.
right? Because a lot of people will think about it and think, well, yeah, I probably could, but what I want my life to be doesn't necessarily align with the lifestyle of having a massive business.
Exactly. And that's what it comes down to with business. I have young children. As I said, I'm obsessed with being in nature. Like, for me, I want a business where I can travel, I can support my children, I can be around, I can live, work flexibly. That's what success looks and feels like to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people need to get clear on, is what do you want and what does success look like to you?
Yeah.
Once you get clear on that, then it's easy to kind of reverse engineer on the actionable steps to get there.
Yeah.
But if you're shooting for the biggest company in the world, it's
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a big one.
It's a big one. The biggest, probably. Yeah, for sure. Well, Mandy, what an episode. Like, it's always great to do these types of episodes, and thank you so much for hopping on the episode today, because it was really, really great to speak with you.
Thank you. I've loved it.
Yeah, like it was.
We've been in real flow.
Yeah, 100%. And for only our second conversation, I think I can say I pretty confidently know you well enough to have a third, let's say. And we will. And we'll have many more.
Let's do it.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was really, really great to get you on. And yeah, I can't wait to do hopefully another one in the future.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, we will leave all your socials in the description. Anything that you want there, we can put in. So, yeah, what an episode.
Anything is possible.
Anything is possible. There we go.
Slow down to speed up.
Yeah, great. Some great takeaways.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, what we do from here is I will let the cameras cool down. They are probably very hot.
That was awesome.
Yes, that was great.
That was really in flow, wasn't it?
Yeah.